Welcome back. How's everyone doing? Hope you guys are doing well. If you have not already checked out the quarterback video, I recommend you can either one, go ahead and finish this all the way through and click in the top right hand corner at the conclusion of this video, and you can go ahead and watch that quarterback video where I go over 3 quarterbacks that I am interested in at the early part of this week for the XFL Week 3 slate. However, if you've already seen that video, or if you're just going to catch this now, watch the end of that one later. I am Jamie. You guys know me as Mystic Mac DFS over in the Reddit communities. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are excited for Week 3 of the XFL. I know that I am. Like we did previously last week and in the quarterback video, I'm just going to go over a few guys at each position that I'm going to have some interest in so far in the early part of this week. We're going to go over a few advanced metrics, some target shares, market shares, snap percentages, all that good stuff, and just kind of figure out where we're landing right now. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. If you guys are new here, hello. Like I said, my name is Jamie. Welcome. This is my YouTube channel where I am going to be posting daily fantasy sports, specifically XFL right now. We'll do NFL a little later down the road, do a little NBA as well. I will be posting all of that stuff here. I do have some exclusive Patreon DFS content over on my Patreon, Mystic Mac DFS, and that's where you can find this sheet here that you are looking at with my dashboards, with all the players for the XFL slates. You're going to find my XFL projections. You're going to find defense versus receiver positions. You guys are going to find target rate positions. You're going to find a bunch of little data sets that I find very useful. You guys are going to find an article, about a 10-page article I write each week, my GPP tiers, plays, usage podcasts, all that type of good stuff that you can find over there. However, if you're not interested in that, no worries, totally understand. You can find me here. Just go ahead and give me a like, a subscribe. That would mean a lot. You would catch all my updated stuff when they go directly to you. And that would just help me get going a little bit on here as I'm starting to promote myself a little bit more on the YouTube channel. So let's get into it. I got 2 running backs at the early part of this week that I'm pretty interested in. The first one we're going to touch base on here is Lance Dunbar. So Lance Dunbar, one reason I like Lance Dunbar. So we're going to take a quick peek just at some of Lance's advanced metrics. So he's running about 45% of the snaps for Dallas. He played in 52% of the snaps last week. And in week 1, he played just about 38% of the team snaps. We got a nice uptick in week 2 with Landry Jones in the game. So that is very positive to see. He ran 19 routes, which is the second most out of any running back last week. And that is actually 2 less than the leader of his team, Cameron Artis-Payne, which is also a good thing to see, is that he ran 48%. He ran a route on 48% of his snaps. So it's very nice to see that when he's in there, he's running a lot of routes. This is a guy that's going to be very effective. He's going to see about 6 targets a game, which we can kind of go back and look here to see that so far in the 2 games, he's averaged 6 a game. He has the most receiving yards per game with 31. He's getting the team's 15% market share, which is really good to see. But a really good important thing that we like about this Dallas offense and Lance Dunbar specifically is that Dallas is targeting their running backs at a 33% rate, which is just insane. The second team in the league is hitting it at 21%. Just to give you a little bit of perspective about how often this team is going to be focusing on getting their running backs involved, which is one thing we're going to have to love about this Bob Stoops offense. We can see that his price did go up from last week when he was about $4,400 and was a really nice value play. If you're a part of the tiers and GPP package, I know you guys got a reap benefit off that. Or if you guys watched that final look video, I know I made a couple lineups when I built 3 of them. I think he was on 2 of the 3 that I built. So he's a guy that we liked last week. He's a guy I'm going to like this week. 6,600, his price did go up, but I still think that he's going to be able to be a pretty strong play. Cameron Artis-Payne did have, his price did go up here to 8,300, which I think is justifiable after the week that he had. When you go off for that type of week, and when the running back position is what it is, you're going to get that price boost, and I totally think that makes sense. But if we're just going to look at it from an overview perspective, I'm not quite sure if that's going to be. Um, I prefer Lance Dunbar there. I prefer that $22 or $2,000 price discount for a guy that played 59% of his snaps last week. Cameron Artis-Payne did. Um, excuse me, he played 66% of his snaps last week, but played 59% overall in the 2 weeks. So yeah, he is out snapping Lance Dunbar, but he's really not out snapping him. Um, it's not that big of a discrepancy where I would rather prefer Cameron Artis-Payne, especially if we go recency bias where his ownership is probably going to be up there. I think I'd just rather go Lance Dunbar and hope the fact that Lance Dunbar gets into the end zone once or twice like Cameron Artis-Payne did, because he's having the production outside of that to give you an elevated floor. But if he does get in that end zone once or twice, then he's just going to absolutely smash for you. So he's going to be a guy that I'm going to have a good amount of interest in. I think one thing important though is when I like to look at is total yards for these teams, for each of these players, and kind of see what they're doing rushing and receiving combining. And he is actually fourth in the league with 66 total yards per game. So again, that's really nice to see. Now let's go to this next guy. We got Jax Patrick for Tampa Bay. So he's only going to be 4,400. And the reason I like him is that the other running back, Davion Smith, is 6,300. So he's about $2,000 more expensive than Jax Patrick. But if we look at this from last week's perspective, we can see that Davion Smith played 50% of the team snaps. Now, if we can kind of go over here and look at some of Patrick's stuff, last week he played 50.68% of the team snap. So these guys got an identical 50-50 split in snaps, which I think is going to give us a lot of interest towards Patrick, knowing the fact that he is $2,000 cheaper. Now, if we can kind of look at his routes, he ran 12 routes, which I think is going to be interesting to note that Davion Smith ran 15 routes, so only 3 routes more than Jax Patrick did, which is going to make me lean towards the guy that's $2,000 cheaper again. Another important note is that PFF gave him a grade of 76.7, which is very, very solid, and his receiving grade of 77.9, which is good for, I think, third or fourth in the league out of all running backs. And again, I think it's important to note that this guy is 4,400, and I think that that's a guy that's gonna be getting that amount of volume relative to some of these other backs at that price. I think he's going to be someone that we're going to have a decent amount of interest in later throughout the week, when we get kind of more touched on what's happening with Darius Victor. A guy, Tim Cook, 4,200, is going to be a guy that we're going to have an eye on as well, but we're still waiting on kind of the injury news for that. Like I said, stay tuned for the Friday's final look when we can really dive deep into that, and you guys will get a good idea of my good interest. Or you should make sure you're checking out those positional tiers and GPP cash gameplays that I'm going to be having updated all the way up until Saturday lock. But I do think as of right now that I'm going to have a good amount of interest in that 4,400 Jax Patrick in a game that where they're going to be putting up a lot of points, but I still believe that with Patrick running 12 routes last week, they're still going to be able to have a little bit of a volume, a little bit of a floor in the receiving game. You know, he has averaged 2.5 targets a game, which obviously isn't Lance Dunbar level. But for 4,400, I think it's going to be okay, because he is going to see more targets, or has so far to this point in the season seen more targets per game than Davion Smith has. And I just don't believe that the price difference there between 6.3K and 4.4K, I just don't think it makes too much sense to lean on Davion Smith. Another important thing to note is that per PFF, Houston actually has the worst run defense in the league. And like I said, that is according to PFF. They give them an 81 grade, so that is another plus sign for a $4,400 Patrick. And so like I said, guys, that's going to be the 2 running backs that I'm going to have interest in. If you're interested in looking at this sheet a little bit more in depth and kind of get see a few of these other guys' stats, see more of like the quarterback stats that we went through in the previous video, and see some of the other guys that we didn't get to mention, feel free to go sign up for that Patreon, and where you'll get all of this information plus a lot more. If you guys have any questions, don't ever hesitate to ask. Shoot me some in the comments. Shoot me some in my Twitter DMs. I know a few of you have reached out to me over there and in Reddit recently, and I appreciate that. So feel free to continue to do so. Hope you guys find this useful. Please like, subscribe to the video. That would be great. I will see you guys later for the wide receiver video. See ya. Bye.